Without freedom of choice, there is no creativity.
I always thought the same thing. That great art comes from freedom. When artists are free to do whatever they want. No rules, no restrictions, just pure creativity. That's what I believed. But then you start to notice something. I started digging into some of the most iconic artistic choices in film history to see if there was more to creativity than just the artist's vision and the freedom to bring it to life. And the more I looked, the more I began to notice something else at play. A pattern I hadn't expected. Imagine you're Steven Spielberg, and it's 1975. You're trying to shoot this movie, and everything seems so perfect and ready, except the mechanical shark doesn't work.
The shark is not working. The shark is not working.
What do you do?
What we did was, I just decided to shoot without the shark.
In the very first scene with the girl being pulled back and forth, this shark was supposed to be there. We only showed it later because we didn't have it earlier.
So they had no choice but to find other ways to shoot it and let John Williams' score imply its presence.
I just played a lot of the fear from people in water. Seeing their legs kicking, a point of view of the camera moving. That's what I think turned the movie into more of an exercise of suspense than just a horror film.
So if it hadn't been 1975 with all the technical limitations,
I would have had the digital tools to have much more of the shark in the movie. Therefore, I would have ruined much more of the movie.
So I was saved by the breakdown in technology 30 years ago.
At first I thought this was just a clever workaround, a lucky accident that happened to work. But then I saw it again. Imagine you're Alfred Hitchcock and it's 1946. You want to film these great actors in a passionate scene, except there is this problem. The Hays Code doesn't allow lustful scenes, and the studios are advising to keep kisses generally around 3 seconds. What do? You break the kiss into pieces. A kiss, a pause, a whisper,
it's nice out
a
here.
3-second kiss again. They walk, another kiss, another pause. He stretched the moment across almost 3 minutes. Instead of reducing the intimacy, it amplified it. And so this made me wonder, what if constraints weren't limiting the art, but actually shaping it, and in many cases, improving it? What if it's not a bug, it's a feature? That's when I came across a behind-the-scenes moment from one of the most acclaimed shows ever made. Imagine you're in the writer's room of Breaking Bad Season 2. You know where the show is headed, you've got most of your plot beats figured out, and then the location manager walks in. Hey, we're losing Jesse's house, it's being sold, we can't shoot there anymore. And now one of your main characters is suddenly homeless. What do? The writers had to quickly find a believable way to get Jesse out, and they ended up turning that problem into a critical turning point. They wrote it into the story. Jesse got kicked out of the house, was forced to move into a new apartment where he met Jane, his landlord and future girlfriend. Her character, her tragic death, and Jesse's grief became one of the most powerful emotional threads in the series.
I don't know that we would have had Jesse move out of his house, story-wise, if not for the fact that we knew this was, we had one more day we could shoot in Jesse's house.
A simple real-world limitation didn't just change one plot detail, it shaped Jesse's entire character arc. At this point, the pattern was getting hard to ignore. These weren't just one-off cases, they kept showing up. So I thought, okay, let's really put this idea to the test. Let's take a film that feels untouchable.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Godfather 1 and 2.
I mean, come on. That lighting, that mood, the way Brando sinks into the shadows, that whole visual language filmmakers have been trying to replicate since. There's no way that came from a problem. Surely this was intentional, right? Imagine you're shooting The Godfather. It's the opening scene. But there's this problem. You notice that Marlon Brando's makeup doesn't look right under normal lights. What do? this iconic look and vibe, it wasn't part of some grand artistic vision. It came from solving a problem.
The design behind all of that, or the thinking behind the design of all of that, came out of Marlon Brando, because Marlon had this makeup stuff that he was using. So top light seemed to be the most effective way of dealing with him, but you can't just do it for him. You have to extend it into the whole feel of the movie. So that's what they did.
After seeing all these examples, I started to realize something. When you've got limited resources, whether it's time, space, or anything, your brain shifts gears. You start thinking not what to shoot or write, but how to. You stop thinking, what should I make, and start thinking, how can I make it work with what I've got? And that shift, it doesn't limit creativity, it unlocks it. But then I wondered, what about the films that feel purely auteur? Where it seems like every frame was born from pure vision. That's when I thought of a film I always saw as bold and intentional. A French New Wave classic. If any film was shaped by deliberate constraint, not forced limitations, it had to be this one. The long takes, the real-time pacing, the poetic framing. But after looking into how it was made, it actually fit the pattern more than I expected. Imagine you are Agnès Varda, and it's 1962. You pitch a great movie to a producer, only to hear that you can't afford it.
At the time, when I was asked to make a film for that producer, and say it's too complicated, it's too expensive, too complicated. So I started to think, how can I make a cheap film?
What do? You make a film that follows one woman in real time, over 90 minutes of her life. No time jumps, no cutaways, just her, drifting through the city, anxious, distracted, and quietly changing moment by moment. When I first watched this movie, I thought Varda chose this real-time approach deliberately, that she had the freedom to shoot it any way she wanted, and decided on this unique structure. But then I found out that all of her creative decisions, those that make the film so special, were dictated by budget limitations.
Then we have to go like, cheap is you make it in a short time story. Then I thought, if I make a very short time, she can have 2-3 dresses, but not 40. Then I thought it should be in the same city, so we don't have trips and things. Most of the technicians are in Paris. If we do it in Paris, they pay less expenses to people.
Varda wanted to change how women were shown on screen, not as perfect muses, but as vulnerable, complex, and real. With a bigger budget, she could have told the story in a more traditional way. Longer timeline, more scenes, more backstory, but maybe that would have made it feel less personal. Instead, the budget turned the story into something unforgettable. A film that's bold and original, even 60 years later. So, the moments we think of as genius, the ones that feel inevitable, even iconic, are often just someone figuring out how to make it work. So maybe that's what creativity really is. Not the freedom to do anything, but solving what's right in front of you and letting the problem guide you somewhere you didn't expect.
Yeah, you can have different paintbrushes, but you can go, I'm gonna limit my palette. I'm only gonna use a fan brush and a detail brush, and I'm gonna make a painting. Do you think that painting is gonna suffer? No, it's gonna take on an identity that you wouldn't have had if you had all the other tools.
So if there's a problem in your way right now, don't avoid it. Use it. It might just lead to something greater than what you imagined.